And this is stuff that we have already done. Let me show you a formula we have used to show percent change. Yes, those of you who have been at OPH, so pretty much most of you, we did this formula. We used this a lot last year, so I'm going to abbreviate a little bit. Now, percent change, we're not talking change with money, although a lot of these are going to be about money. It means by how much did the percent change. If it's on sale, is it 30% off? Is it 50%? So, the formula, percent change. Now, I'm going to add into the formula, you should know this, but we're always going to put that over 100 because percent is always over 100. So last year I don't think I put the over 100 in the formula, we just did it. So let's just go ahead and put that in there. Equals change in price. Or last year I think I called it amount of change, but here maybe these words will help a little bit. Change in price over original price. So notice there's nowhere in this formula for new price. Okay, again, this is pretty much all going to be about money. Sometimes there's a discount, the percent goes down. Sometimes there's an increase in price, the percent change would go up. In no case is there a place to put your new price. We've got the original price. Change in price, remember, means by how much money did it change. So if the shoes were $100 and then they were on sale for $75, your change in price would be $25. There's nowhere in the formula for new price. So be careful with that. I'm going to ask you to be using this formula for these problems. There are other ways to do them. If you choose any other way, you have to show your work. So, first of all, let's say that the car, I'm just going to abbreviate a little bit. Gabriel, you're getting this? A car's price. It's just the cutest sneeze I've ever heard. A car's price goes from $10,000. Now this must be a really cheap car. You can't buy a new car for $10,000. You probably barely buy a used car for $10,000 unless it's really old. But I'm using the numbers from the book just so that I know the problem works out. A car's price goes from $10,000 to $8,999. Nice little trick you see. It looks cheaper because it starts with an 8, but essentially that's $9,000. So the question is, by what percent did the price decrease? By what percent? So there's a sale of the junky old cars on the used car lot. And you notice that the one you've been looking at for $10,000 is now on sale for $8,999. You want to figure out if you're getting a good deal. So you want to know what percentage are you saving. Let's use our formula. Percent change. Always over 100. What do I do on the numerator there? Do I know the percent by which it changes? No, so here's our variable. The idea with this formula, there's 4 sections to it, right? We always know the 100. Of these other sections where I have the words, all you need is to know 2 of them, and you can always find the 3rd missing piece. This is our missing piece in this one, the percent. Okay, what else can I fill in? What do I know that I could put into the formula? And where would it go? Luke?
The change in price.
Okay, what is the change in price?
$1,001.
Good. Where'd you get that from, Luke?
Subtracted $8,999.
Good. Change in price. What's the difference between the old and the new? So you can use a calculator to do that, or you can do careful mental math. $1,001 is how much the price changed by. What would go here on the denominator? Jaden? Yep, the original price. And then you cross multiply. So, I always like to do the left cross first, but there's no reason for that. It's just a habit that I'm in. So x times 10,000, 10,000x equals the other cross, 1 1,001 times 100, it's gonna get 2 zeros. Oops, let's zoom in there. Now, if you wanna put the commas in to help you make sure you have the right numbers, you can. Now we just divide both sides by 10,000. And so being very careful with all those zeros, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, divided by 10,000 equals 10.01. What is it? It's a percent. Put a percent symbol on it. Now you might not get decimals like this if you just say 10%. That's pretty close. But if it's not a repeating decimal or anything really long, just go ahead and include the decimal in your answer. But if it's a percent, and this was a percent, you have to have the percent symbol. 10 is not the same as 10%. Anybody want to get 10% on their next test? No. Anybody want to get 10 out of 10 on their next test? Yeah. So if you got a 10 out of 10, a score of plain old 10, that'd be great. But if you get a 10%, that's not great. So remember, if it's a percent, you must have the percent symbol on that answer. Let's just do one more. And this is about, the one I'm going to do next is about the hardest it gets. We did some like this last year, so again, this should not be new. A gym, a spelling bee club. What did you join, Vincent? To join what? Boy Scouts? What did you say? Boys and Girls Club. We'll just say a club so we don't have to write. I think you said Boy Scouts. I was going to say that'd be good too. Okay, Vincent paid $27 to join a club. We'll say it's the Boys and Girls Club. This was an 8% increase in price. Now, I'm leaving out some of the words just so you don't have to write so much. So let's say last year he joined and it was cheaper. This year he joins and it's $27, and that's an 8% increase from the previous year. Okay, an 8% increase from last year. What was the price of membership last year? So $27, this is an 8% increase from last year's price. What was that price from last year? Every time we're going to start by setting up a proportion that fits our formula. Now again, this is nothing new compared to what we did last year. So if you remember working with this formula, it's the same stuff. The hardest it's going to get is going to be this example because of what we know and what we don't know. What can I start to fill in? Daniel?
The X and the 100 on.
Okay, now the 100 is always 100 because it's always a percent. Do I need an X here or do I know the percent on this one, Daniel? I know the percent. So here it's not X, it's 8. We know it. Right? So we take what we know from the problem and we figure out where does it fit in the formula. 8's our percent, so here I've got 8 over 100. Do I know the original price? No. Original was last year. Original is always what it starts at. So last year's price. Now, here's what we need to do. I can't just put another variable here. I don't know the amount of change, but I can't use another letter. I need to use the X. So let's think about this. What Luke did, let me go back to this real quick. What Luke did to get this change in price is he did bigger minus smaller. Right? That's how we find the difference. We do bigger minus smaller. When was the price bigger? This year or last year? This year. This year, this $27 is an 8% increase. So if I'm always going to do, you don't have to write this down unless you want to, but if it's always the change in price is always bigger minus smaller, this year is bigger minus the smaller. I don't know what that is yet, but I'm going to be able to figure it out because I only have one variable and that variable is X. So if X is the original price, how would I find the change in price? I'd go, well, 27, the bigger amount, minus last year's cost. And now all we have to do when we cross multiply is just watch out for our binomial. Again, I like to do the left cross first, 8 times x, 8x. When I do this next cross, it's 27, times the entire numerator. So we could put parentheses around it to show it's a binomial, and then we would distribute 100 times 27, 2700, 100 times x, 100x. And now it should look like some of the problems we've been doing. Anybody want to tell me what my next step should be based on what we've been doing lately? We've got a few people. Jaden?
-8.
Okay, you could do -8 or you could do plus 100. Either way, let me show you that it will work either way. On this one, Jaden, I would actually move this one because although 100 is bigger, it's a minus. And minus 100 is less than +8. So actually, let me do it that way. If you did it the other way, just remember that would be a 0, but it would work. You would just have it on the other side. 8x plus 100x is 108x. Oops, I got my equal sign up in the middle there. Ignore that blob. So I added 100x to both sides. 8x plus 100x makes 108x. And now we would just divide by 108. Again, being careful with your calculator. And I get 25. And now let's see, what kind of units or symbol do I need to put here? Jim?
$.
Good, I look back to the problem, it was in the original cost. Let's think about if this makes sense. Last year it was $25, it went up by 8%, which is not very much, up to 27. Oh yeah, it increased by $2, that's not very much. So it makes sense, I need your answer to be reasonable. So if you look at your answer, if this said $2,500, and then it increased to 27, what? It doesn't make sense. Make sure your answer makes sense. And that's it for today.